Listen, yeah, I get it. Fat loss is hard for some people. It might be simple, the concept of it might be simple, because all you've got to do is eat less calories than what you burn off consistently. But just because the concept is simple doesn't mean that the actual process itself is easy. In actual fact, some people struggle with it more than others. But you are not doing yourself any favours if you are actively not making it easier for yourself. Let me explain. So obviously, in order to create a calorie deficit, you need to be reducing the amount of calories that you're consuming and trying to burn off a little bit more calories. Now, firstly, let's target the calories consuming part. If you are not actively trying to increase the amount of volume of food that you're eating and increasing the amount of protein that you're eating, you're making calorie deficit way harder than it needs to be. Because ultimately, the main reason as to why people struggle with creating a calorie deficit is because they overeat, either because they're hungry, either for emotional reasons, whatever it is. It all boils down to the fact that they consume more calories than they need to. And the first thing that you can do in order to help combat this is to eat more filling foods, more satiating foods, and ideally trying to smash your protein target. If you're not actively trying to increase the volume of food that you're eating whilst also reducing the amount of calories you're consuming, and you go about this by literally adding more vegetables to your food, some calorie sparse foods to your food, some nutrient dense foods to your food, increasing the amount of protein in your food, and substituting that with foods which are probably high in calories. Or better yet, substituting high caloric foods for their low caloric counterparts, such as substituting 20% mince for 5% mince, substituting regular cheese for low fat cheese, substituting regular Coca-Cola for Diet Coke. You're increasing the volume of food that you're eating, but also reducing the amount of calories that you're consuming as well. And if you're not going about this, if you're not actively trying to do this, then you are making fat loss way harder than it needs to be. Now let's look at the caloric expenditure part. So once again, a lot of the time why people struggle with creating a calorie deficit is that it makes them feel hungry and they struggle with actually reducing the calorie intake down. And a lot of the time this comes from the fact that their calorie intake target is probably a little bit too little. Now the thing is, calorie intake and calorie expenditure are proportional to each other. If you burn off more calories, you could be eating more calories while still creating a calorie deficit. So if you've looked at MyFitnessPal and you've set your activity level to, for example, sedentary because you live a sedentary life, and MyFitnessPal has given you something like 1,400 calories, and you're looking at that thinking, I don't know if I can manage that, then start doing more. Start being more active. Start actively putting steps in place to do more shit. Go for more walks, walk instead of driving, go to the gym more. Because it doesn't just help with your caloric expenditure, but exercise and staying active actually has a appetite suppressant effect, which means that if you exercise more and you actually do more stuff, then you will also likely be less hungry. And as I said, the more calories you burn off from day to day, the more calories you can actually eat while still creating a calorie deficit, because the calorie deficit is based on the amount of calories that you're burning off per day. And if you improve that by eating more protein, doing more activity, and going to the gym more, you can eat more calories, which means you can eat more food. And the other side of things, when it comes to the gym, a lot of the time people struggle with the motivation to actually go or the determination to actually drag themselves to the gym. And when this happens, obviously it makes your life a hell of a lot harder as well, because even though technically you can lose fat without ever stepping foot in a gym, you're making it harder for yourself by doing that. So take a step back and understand exactly the reason as to why you're struggling with getting to the gym as much. Is it because your workouts aren't enjoyable? If so, change your workouts so they're a little bit more enjoyable. Obviously, there's more optimal exercises that you can start doing in order to make more progress in the areas that you want to make. But if your issue is just getting you to the gym, then ignore the optimization of exercises completely and instead just focus on actually doing exercises which you want to do, which don't require motivation to do, which you do because you want to do rather than because you feel like you have to do. Because I guarantee if you swap out your toothbrush with a toilet brush, you'd be way less motivated to brush your teeth, wouldn't you? So swap out the exercises which you obviously do not like doing, whether that's cardio, whether that's certain weight training exercises, and swap them with shit that you actually enjoy doing, ones that actually get you to the gym and don't require a whole lot of motivation to do. Because doing something in this respect is going to be better than doing nothing. Furthermore, it could also be related to timing. So for example, you could have quite a busy day, you could have quite a busy work schedule, or you don't want to be spending hours at the gym. So shorten your workouts down to something more manageable. There's a girl that I coach called Eve. Now Eve only has a certain amount of time to actually spend in the gym. She can't go to the gym for an hour a day because of work and timings, and she needs to get the bus to actually get home. So what we did is we shortened her workout down to about 20 to 30 minutes, made the exercises that she's doing nice and high intensity, so she's getting getting out around the same amount of intensity in those 20 to 30 minutes as someone would getting a 45-minute to an hour workout done. And that's working for her. Just adapt it to make it a little bit more doable. Long story short, this whole journey is going to require effort to actually achieve results. But that doesn't mean that it's got to be a chore. It doesn't mean that it's got to be misery inducing. In actual fact, you need to start putting steps in place to make it as easy as possible for yourself to stick to. Because people don't get results not because the shit that they're doing doesn't work, but because the shit that they're doing they cannot stick to. You need to find things that you can stick to and that don't require motivation or a whole lot of willpower to do. You do them because you want to, rather than because you feel like you have to. I hope that helps and I hope that makes sense. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. If you've got any questions for me, please comment below because I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. And if you want any more free fitness or fat loss based content without any of the bullshit, as always, make sure that you're either following my Instagram at k.p_health or subscribe to this channel. Peace.